discussion go? Good? Did you find it meaningful? It's quite important that this is what Sangha is for, actually. But you see, if we have these short meetings sometimes, only one evening in a week, we don't have time to really discuss. Because you're tired, your day is full, you want to go home and all this. This is why we try to integrate that also in the courses, so that you learn to listen first, which is very important, especially if you want to be of benefit to others. You need to learn to listen before you come in with your own answer. And it's nice, it's very soothing also for somebody who has a problem if somebody just listens. We usually jump in with all kind of solutions, and we don't even see the person maybe only wants to be listened to. Maybe they don't want to do anything. They just want to be understood that it's difficult at the moment, and that they do accept it though, but it's difficult, and that's okay. So, of course, one never knows, should I help, should I not help, but first is this listening. So that's one thing that is good in the discussion group. And the other one is, the good thing about it, you see that you're not alone with all these things. All of a sudden we start to see, others feel quite similar or quite the same. Yeah. All right. Do you have any open questions to these points? They're not difficult to understand. They're very easy to reflect upon. You just have to remember them when things go not so well, that you use these 2 points, that our situation at the moment is really good, but it won't last. I don't know how long I will last, because I just had a dizzy spell again. I always have them at the right moment when I don't have anything to do. It started when I went down. You didn't notice. I walked like a drunk person. I was happy that I didn't fall off the path. So I went to lie down. So usually after an hour or two, it's finished. So I hope it lasts. Otherwise, Kaya will have to take over completely. She's capable, so that's okay. But usually when it's finished, then that's it. It's finished for quite a while. So I hope so. And it has been checked and all this. You don't need to come and tell me what I should do. It has been checked. There's nothing I can do. It's been diagnosed with Meniere's and voila. So I accept it. And actually, sometimes also this acceptance, because it happened to me in the course I gave in a Vipassana center. And there it was before the last meditation. And I was supposed to do the last meditation, but we were 2 teachers. So it was nice. Like here, we were also 2 teachers. So I just said, I was actually sitting, and sometimes it comes on without that I move. And I said, and so somebody has to guide me out, because sometimes it's really bad. And the other teacher, I said, look, I'm sorry, but can you please do the last meditation? So at the end of the course, I was already home, somebody wrote me a letter, and he said, you helped me so much by being just very normal about it. You said what's happening, you went to lie down and finished, because he has the same thing. And he's some kind of coach for I don't know whom. And he always tries to hide it, and he feels terrible about it, but you can't. You cannot hide it. I felt it coming this morning, so you can kind of avoid it a little bit, but then it just comes on. So he said it helped me very much to be able to just accept it and to still have quite a happy life with this. So yeah, we and you, I and you, we have the good karma that it only comes when in the breaks. This is the second time I have it here. Last time it was the last day when during the manager talk, so I was just lying down and waiting until it's finished. But I can still see myself. I have them often, and until now, it's always finished after 2 hours. But still one part of the mind says, what if it's not finished after 2 hours? Still one part of the mind thinks it's permanent. This is really interesting to see. I can make the step out of this thought, but still it's there. you know, the trust that it only lasts 2 hours is, I would say, 80%, and 20% goes like, ooh. Then I thought, well, if it lasts longer, then I just go and ask Kaya to take over.
Take you to the ear doctor.
I've been to the ear doctor. It's okay. Many times. So not just one. So it's fine. Anyway.
High blood pressure.
Huh?
High blood pressure?
It's okay. It's all right. Okay. No, it's not. Well, I always have low blood pressure. But it's not. Let's talk about Kaaima. Just so that you're warned. Also, I don't know if you haven't, because this morning I wasn't very focused. I don't know if you noticed. Now I'm much better. It's okay. So I can also hide quite well. So that's nice to know. So I'm sorry about that. No, I wasn't.
You were very focused.
Now I'm totally, it was, you know, sometimes it's sitting here a little bit, so. But now I'm fine. So this is the funny thing. This is our sources of happiness. Maybe that's why it came on, so I can explain to you. You see, our happinesses that we have, unfortunately, come a lot from that. Things don't go so well, it goes better, woof, we're happy. This is the source for happiness for us. But then it's not so great. What the spiritual practice is all about is that we really learn to accept. And especially this text, we use these things not to run to the doctor, but to say, okay, now I accept. And the more things that you can accept, the easier your life becomes, especially as you get older, because when you get older, there's many things that no doctor can help. And when you can accept, then you become an easy patient, kind of. If you cannot accept, then it will be very difficult for people to look after you. That's another thing you can already do now. You can learn to accept help. If people offer it, take it. Instead of just saying, no, I can manage. It's fine. It's a thing we have to learn because we want to be so independent and we don't want to be dependent on others. And so that can be a good thing when we get older. So, precious human rebirth, first topic. Second topic, will not last, impermanence and death. Third topic, what comes next? And what comes next is according to Karma. And that's a very, very complex subject. So we have about an hour to talk about this, and then you can ask questions. So don't think because now you have understood. But I will give you, if you have something to write, I will give you a list with these, what it is, what it is not, and this and this and this. And with this list, you should be able to figure out yourself if it's a positive action or if it's a negative action, if it's totally positive, totally negative, and so forth. Unfortunately, it's not in the text that I gave you. Why? Because Kaaima is supposing that you know all these things. He's just reminding us to remember these things. But these are the things that go into the lower and the middle scope. What we talk about now and what we talk about this evening, like after dinner. And in order to calm you down already now, like maybe I shouldn't, because to me it didn't happen. I heard about Kaaima, but very extensive from my teacher, and the results of Kaaima, I think over 2 days. I was really frightened because I could see, this list, I've done it all. Just only in this life, forget about other lives. And I thought, precious human rebirth, at the time of death, that's finished. And I couldn't sleep during that night. I was really scared. And I thought, well, now I have two possibilities. Either I run away and forget it all, but I couldn't. I ignore it all and think, what they're saying, whatever. Or I do something serious. But I did have the thought, I was maybe 40 then, and I was in Kopan, and it was my first November course. And I had the thought, well, I better go, because I still have a few years before me, so why don't I just enjoy these years and have a good time, and then when I die, well, then I plunge into the lower states. It was funny enough, me who I don't really believe in, I'm not superstitious at all, but when he talked about the suffering in the hell realms and in the hungry ghost, I somehow believe that this is true. which is a good thing because then at least you react. So if you can't relate to these states which are in other dimensions, and it's not, if you can't relate to them, then you can take Syria, for example, at the moment. Not now where it's ceasefire, but like before, and even now it's ceasefire, nobody knows how long it lasts, and it's a place where you cannot trust anybody, and it's a place where it's incredibly hot or incredibly cold. So if you're in Syria and your house gets bombarded, they have the same temperatures as here. Then there's no more water, there's no more electricity, there's no more shelter. Plus the fear of dying. That is a hell state. Yeah. Because now it's hot. But they say the hells are much hotter than that. And Hungry Ghost is wherever you turn, there's always this need, this greed. You never get enough. You can look at somebody who is addicted to something. No matter how much they get, it's never enough. It can be any substance. It doesn't have to be alcohol or drugs. It can also be food or work or friends or money or... but still, that's very mild. It's very mild when we take it into the human world, because when we take it in the human world, it can change, because you have a human body. Like you can come out of Syria. Whereas if you're reborn in a hell state, you cannot come out. You have to wait until that time is finished. And it's not that you're just sitting there and waiting until it's finished, it's that you try to defend yourself. You fight because you're constantly attacked. Yeah, so it's quite good to, at least for me, to take into consideration that these existences could exist, and that I definitely don't want to go there. So somehow I didn't go, I stayed, and then he started talking about purification, that it is possible to purify these negative imprints before they ripen. And this is what we'll do before dinner. So if now you start to feel like, ugh, then relax. There is a way where you don't have just to wait until they ripen. There is a way where you can totally destroy them if you apply the right means. So that's very important to know. So I never know where to start. Let's start with what makes an action complete. There are 4 points for an action to be complete. You need an intention, and with the intention it is not really meant that when you are with the 10 negative actions you do need an intention, because if you steal, you steal. If you kill, you kill. So if you kill an insect by accident, it's not done out of anger. It might be done out of ignorance and you don't care. It's sometimes done out of detachment because that insect is about to eat your food or something like that, and then you can abandon it, you can give it, it's okay. You still have other food or things like that. So an intention. With intention, very often, karma also means actually intention. It's because that is what makes the heaviness of the karmic imprint. Karma, the word karma itself just means action. So then you need to do the action. So let's say killing a mosquito. Let's take that one. You see the mosquito, it gets on your nerves, you're afraid of dengue fever, malaria, I don't know what. Or it's just very simple. I don't want to be stung by this thing because it itches. And we have totally no consideration that this animal maybe also does not want to die. We have not one thought about the animal. I have the right to be here, and this animal does not. It's a bit much, isn't it? So then the intention is, I want to kill it. Because you can also try to catch it and let it out, for example. Put it out, then you are protected and the animal is still alive. You don't have to kill every mosquito. the action is, you have planned it, you wait until it sits down somewhere, and then instead of putting a glass over it and the cardboard and taking it out, you go, well, let's say it's here, you go. So one thing is, the mind that does that is far too strong. Totally overestimating a mosquito. Because for a mosquito, that would be enough. But no, we go like, pow, yeah? And then the joy, having killed it, that makes the action complete. So we have an intention, an object, which is the mosquito, the action, which is we're taking its life, and at the end, the completion of it, and what makes it strong is we rejoice, we're happy. So in Buddhism, and again, you don't have to believe me, in Buddhism, they say even killing animals like that is a negative action. But now also, everybody is aware that sometimes, especially when there are a lot of insects in your house, either you abandon the house or you kill them. So it doesn't mean that if there is a really good specific reason to kill them, that it makes it okay. It is still killing, and then you have to do the purification, and you have to look in what way you can kill them. You know, you're not becoming somebody that you let everybody do what they want to do. We also need to survive. And this is what is part of our existence, which is called samsara. This is why our happiness doesn't last. This is why we have so many moments of dissatisfaction, because these imprints at one point they ripen. But it's only a totally full act when these four factors are present. And for small things, very often, they are present. Or same thing as stealing. You're in your office and there is pencils or pens or time that belongs to your boss because they pay for it, and then you use it doing private things. I think by now it's kind of accepted. Is there a rule in your...
Not a rule. I know that people take persons, so it's okay.
Yeah, but when they spend a lot of time on their telephone, on the WhatsApp?
It's nothing to do with it. It's depend everybody on his morality.
Yeah. I mean, as long as they do their job, then that's fine. But I was in a train station once, and a guy was fixing the lamp, and while he was fixing the lamp for at least half an hour, he was on the telephone. Because that is time, he isn't doing his job, but he's maybe taking much too long to do his job because he's taking so much time on the telephone. So again, if you do that, then remind yourself, you might be a boss at one point and all your employees are constantly on the telephone doing WhatsApp and private things. So that would go into the category of stealing.
Some jobs are different. For instance, my
Huh?
brother has a project to work on, and it doesn't matter what he does during. I mean, as long as the project has got a deadline, once it's finished.
Yeah. So this is what I mean. You see, but we have to be really careful with this. When we go, well, as long as, or I had to do because of this and that. It's much better to say, actually, it would be better if I would finish the project and then do my private things. This is the danger about these actions. You can cook up a good motivation for most of them and say, well, it doesn't matter. Because it also creates habits. That's the problem about this. And it creates results, like not right now, but somewhere down the line in the future. Okay, so with the stealing, or if you take something, supermarket, you know, you think, well, I remember the first time when I came to Israel, I think I saw empty chocolate wrappers in the supermarket shelves, and I said, oh, do you have rats here in the supermarket? And everybody laughed, and they said, no, the people eat it in the shop so that nobody catches them. I would never have had that idea, that if I want to steal something, I eat it, I consume it there. I thought they had rats or something.
Sometimes
Okay, so you have to be clear about these 4 factors to make an action complete. If any of these factors is missing, it is still, we're talking about negative actions now. It goes the same for positive actions. It is, if one of them is missing, it's not quite complete. It still gives a result, but not such a big one, not such a heavy one. Well, wait, okay? I'll give you the whole list, and then maybe you can figure it out yourself. This is why I said I give you the list. Then the 10 non-virtuous actions. So, see, this is the first step. It's quite simple, these 10 non-virtuous actions.
What's the meaning of
Non-virtuous? Huh?
What's the meaning of virtues?
Virtue, something that brings happiness, well-being. Non-virtue, something that brings suffering, something unwanted, undesired. A mitzvah would be virtuous. What's the opposite of a mitzvah? Does it mean sin?
Yeah.
No, it's not a sin. So that's the wrong translation. It's too heavy, the sin thing.
Something that is inappropriate.
Something that is like, for example, the object that you are dealing with is not happy about this. That would be not necessarily. But anyway, wait, because the list that we are getting at the moment is quite simple. So, but what our mind is doing, it goes far too far before we start to work with this very simple 10 actions. Because when we have learned to react not in a negative way, not doing these very simple actions, then we can go into more complicated things.
Shall we say פעולות שליליות or non-virtue? Negative actions.
You could also call it unskillful, because we all want to be happy, nobody wants to suffer. So we create actions that actually chase away the happiness and create the suffering. Not just for ourselves, but also for the people around us. But before you start kind of try to figure out what this all is, I give you the list. Okay?
How did you call it? 10 actions?
Huh? You can call them negative, it's okay. Negative actions.
No, what's the title you said earlier?
Non-virtuous.
All the title.
Yeah, 10 non-virtuous actions. 10 negative actions, 10 destructive actions. Destructive for what? For your happiness and especially for your enlightenment, because you're not making progress on the path. And also it confuses the mind. This is another thing about non-virtuous actions. On a subtle level, we start to become confused, because I think all of you want to be ethical, isn't it? Then we start to do non-ethical things. And then the mind gets confused and we're not happy. That's an immediate result. We have an intention to go this way, and then the mind constantly leads us that way. So you see, if we would have a car like this, we would have thrown it away long ago. But we have a mind, the intention is to be virtuous and kind and all this, and it keeps going the other way. So instead of adjusting that going the other way, we adjust to the other way, and we have all kinds of explanations why it's okay to go the other way. Instead of being totally honest and just say, no, this is harmful, this is negative, this is destructive. This destroys my happiness, very often the happiness of others. Your mosquito, I don't think your mosquito is happy when you kill it. And I think your boss is happier when you do the work than when you spend a lot of time on WhatsApp. Okay, so tree of body. There is 3 of these 10. It's divided into 3, 4, 3. So tree of body, killing, taking somebody's life, no matter how small. No, it's not true. The Buddha said, whatever you can see with your naked eye, that is considered a being. So we don't need to worry about bacteria and these things. First, we very simple here, okay? Very, very simple. Killing, taking somebody's life. And don't in your head already, yeah, but what? Wait. Then stealing, taking what is not being given. So here, for example, be reasonable. You have a little soap in your room. that is wrapped. It's for you to use. You can also take it home if you go home, because I never had a soap in the room that was not wrapped. So as far as I know, if it's not totally used, they just throw it away. So that would not be stealing, although nobody said explicitly, oh, the things that are... But if you have a shampoo container which is empty, and then in the shower there is this shower gel, and you start to fill it, your empty container, I would say that would go into stealing. Yeah? Yeah. So...
It's not such a good soap as somebody else.
Well, that's what you say, you know. Somebody who doesn't have any money to buy soap, and somebody might like it. Because why is it not good? Because you're spoiled. Because you buy better and more expensive things. For me, this is totally good enough.
Doesn't it have to be worth a certain amount of money to be considered actually the completed act of stealing?
No, that's for nuns.
Oh, that's for us.
Yeah, when we break the vow totally, that you lose all your other vows and you steal something, it would have to create a court case. So, but then you lose all your other vows.
But the value has to be a certain value, money.
Yeah, but you know, again, with the value is tricky, because for you it might not be valuable, and for the person that you take it from might be very valuable.
No, I mean money, cost.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. It's the mind that takes something that has not been given. Of course, the bigger the amount, the bigger the negative karma. Or, we come to that. Sexual misconduct. Using our sexual energy in a way that is not skillful. Let's say, forcing somebody. You have an agreement, it does not need to be marriage. You have an agreement with somebody that you are a couple and you go off with somebody else. That would be sexual misconduct. Or you know that the person that you are having an affair with has a partner and it's not finished. It doesn't mean that you are stuck with the same person for the rest of your life. It means that before you start another sexual relationship, you finish that one. Or you make it clear, you say, look, I'm having this affair, is it okay for you? If your partner says, yeah, why not? Fine. But make sure that he or she really means it. Okay, so those are the two. Forcing somebody, when somebody's too young, kind of, you are very, like Michael Jackson, and you know, you're very famous, kids want to have contact with you and you misuse this being famous or being attractive for luring them into sexual conduct. They're far too young. That's about it. That's the main thing. The main thing is forcing somebody and this adultery thing, because that creates so much suffering. Wow, it's such a break of trust. And I see it with people when it happens, how destroyed, devastated they are. Too much, I think, actually, because again, it's this false trust that it will last forever and all that. But or this, you know, the person belongs to me. But still, whether the devastation is right or not right, it is there. Okay. 4 of speech. So these are the 3 of bodies. So it's quite simple. We don't need to go any further for the moment. 4 of speech. Lying. Slander. You understand slander? Slander meaning divisive talk. Like you point out the faults of somebody all the time in order to expel that person from the group. Somebody who is really liked, and you don't want this person to be liked and to belong to the group, you go around and you go, whoa, but he or she did this and did that and that. Even if it's true, if it's done with this wish to ruin the reputation of that person, then that is negative action. If it's done to warn them, then of course different motivation. Then it's not really divisive speech, then it's just pointing out. With the speech we have to be so careful, because it's with the speech that we create the most negative karma. Body, I think most of us have subdued. The body is okay. You're not killing, you're not stealing, sexual misconduct, I hope not. It really creates a lot of suffering. It really creates a lot of suffering. And one man told me once he fell in love with another woman, and he was married to somebody else, and he said, if I wouldn't have had, because you can take vows like this, that you're not doing it. He said, if I wouldn't have had the vow, I would have slept with that woman that night. But because I had the vow, I didn't, and I'm so happy that we waited until the divorce was true and everything, so we could really start a relationship which is not built on guilt and things like that. His ex-wife still suffered, of course, because she was very attached to him, she was very dependent on him. But for those two, the relationship kind of started clean. So divorce is okay. Divorce is possible. Separating from somebody when it doesn't work, it's not fine. It's anyway always suffering, unless both say, okay, it doesn't work anymore, let's separate. But in general, it's not an easy thing, and especially not if you have children. Today it becomes very common. So you're not like a red dog anymore, or a blue dog, like, you know, this is a German expression, like when you're really sticking out of the masses. I didn't have any classmates, that had parents that were divorced. Nobody. So if it would have happened, we would have like, what? Yeah, so for the kids it's difficult. Harsh words, unkind words. What's the intention there is to harm. With the lying, I mean, the intention is clear. It's either attachment or it's anger. Or you just do it for fun, like I did when I was smaller, before I heard about these things. Carelessly just saying something that is actually meaningless, but it makes you maybe more interesting or funny or something like that. We have to be really careful. I still have the habit of exaggerating. Lying right out, I hope it's finished, but it took a long time to watch the mind, to watch the mouth. Yeah. With this gossip, that's the next one, it's still not 100% okay. I know, same, you know, I know I shouldn't say it, and it goes. And this is it, we shouldn't take this lightly. We shouldn't think it's funny. That's the thing. Because as long as we think, yeah, well, yeah, so what, and we even are amused about our own misbehavior, we're not really taking it seriously. But these habits are very difficult to break. So 3 of the mind. You have the 4 of speech, yeah, lying, slander, harsh words or unkind words, and gossip, meaningless talk. It's okay to have, for example, meaningless talk with somebody who is depressed, and you tell jokes and these kind of things. But the intention then is not just to waste the time. And when we gossip about somebody, like let's say here, when like last course, the walls were more to the front, and there was the Moadon was there, like with the tea and everything. So let's say I think somebody is out, and I start gossiping about this person, maybe making fun of them, or denigrating them or something, and all of a sudden they come from behind the screen, and I know that they've hurt me. If it makes me feel embarrassed, then I know it was, then the negative imprint has been created. Because this is it, you see, our clear nature mind knows when it's negative. So whether you want or not, the imprint does create it. And it's the mind itself. It's the mind who creates these actions and then the seeds that will ripen as a result. It's not the Buddha who sees you and then he thinks up, oh, how can I punish her, and then throws it at you. It's not like that. It's totally our own responsibility. And then we maneuver ourselves into situations in a subconscious way. That's also the subtle mind who's doing that, so that the karma can ripen. We have impulses. When they talk about these miracles, when somebody is saved, you know, like just now was again September 11th, so you hear stories how somebody was not in the office because they were sick or they were delayed and all this. So all this is due to the karma to be there was not in that mind stream. And this is why there's these other conditions happening so that it cannot ripen. So the tree of mind, envy, sometimes it's called covetousness also. Seeing somebody who has a better car, a better husband, a better body, more knowledge, better Dharma practice than you, and you cannot bear it. You're not happy with what you have anymore, and you put your whole effort, especially if it is material things, you put your whole effort into getting the same, if not better. But it can go over to spiritual practice. That even though your teacher maybe tells you, no, you're not ready for that, but because your colleague is doing it, you think, okay, he says I'm not ready, but I think I'm ready, and you go and do the same difficult retreat, for example. So that can also be, it can out of competition or out of envy, because you're not happy with what you have anymore. Harmful thoughts, or sometimes it's called negative rejoicing, when we are happy when somebody else suffers. And this we see a lot on, if you watch the news on TV, you know, somewhere a bomb goes off somewhere, not just in Israel, now the bombs go off just about everywhere. And one part of the world, woo, is cheering, like Osama bin Laden was killed. In America, woo, everybody was cheering. Did it change something? Not really, actually. And the other part of the world, like the Muslim world or the terrorist world, they were unhappy. The Al-Qaeda world was unhappy. The others were happy about this. And then if you think, oh, good thing that this guy is dead, you can think like this if you include him in your compassion by thinking at least like this, because he had a lot of power in this life, he had money, he could influence people. At least in this life he cannot do negative actions anymore. Then the rejoicing is for other people and for him also, if you can include him in that compassion, but it's very rare. When the joy of these things come, it's, wow, good thing that they're dead. So when we dedicate, you know, we always dedicate for the good rebirth, for the people who died in a terrorist attack and the terrorists. And for some people this is very strange. But when we dedicate for good rebirth, we dedicate for a rebirth where they have also contact to their own inner potential and start acting out of compassion and out of wisdom and not out of anger and the wish to destroy. Same thing, you know, what we call terrorism, other people call heroism. So no, it depends which side you're on. And then wrong views. So these wrong views, which are here in this list of the 10 non-virtuous actions, they are wrong views for people who are Buddhists. If you're not a Buddhist, it's not a wrong view not to believe in rebirth, not to believe in full awakening, not to believe in the law of cause and effect. But it will also then prevent you from attaining full awakening. Because if you have these wrong views, okay, let's call them views. If you have these views, then you will never look for that potential. You will never try to find it. You will never do these practices to find it. You might do spiritual practices just until you feel a little bit better, or just until you feel, oh, now it's too much effort, I think I go back to smoking dope, or something like that. So these are the 10 non-virtuous actions. Of course, out of those, the Buddha says, wrong views are the worst, especially not believing in the law of cause and effect. Because then we do just about anything that comes into our mind. Then karma has again 4 features or 4 characteristics. Karma is definite. The first one. So they very often use seeds in the garden. You plant a seed of a red flower, it doesn't hold also, because with hortensia, it very much depends on the ground that it is growing in. But in general, if you plant seeds of a red flower, then the flower most probably will come up. But karma is definite. Or if you plant the seed of a sweet fruit, maybe that's a better example. If you let the fruit ripen, it will be sweet. If you plant the seed of a bitter fruit and you let it ripen, it will be bitter. And that's like destructive karma results in suffering, and constructive karma results in happiness. Second feature, the second characteristic is what you have not created, you cannot experience. So hopes and fears are kind of useless. So what we have created in the past, we don't know. But what we can create for the future, there we have a little bit of control. Why we don't have total control, we come to this when we come to the results. Karma increases, and this is the good thing about positive karma, and this is the dangerous thing about negative karma. Like these karmic imprints, they are dynamic. They're not totally fixed. So you can do something wholeheartedly, totally, completely, makes a very strong imprint. All of a sudden you start to regret, and you start to try to amend. So that weakens that imprint that would then ripen as a heavy result. So it depends how you deal with it. Or it can totally, you prefer to forget about it, and then of course then it starts to grow and to fester. Positive actions also, they also increase, not just negative actions. And karma is never lost, not like physical seeds. Except you can destroy positive seeds through anger, because then they cannot ripen. Positive seeds bring you happiness and well-being. If you are angry, you cannot enjoy anything, because everything you see is ugly. Why do we enjoy things? Not because they're nice from their own side out there. It's because the mind sees them as attractive, that's all. There's no attractiveness coming from here. The attractiveness only comes from the mind, from the eyes, and from your relationship to it. That is difficult to understand, because it doesn't look like that. So positive seeds you can destroy through anger. This is why anger is so dangerous also. And when you read the patience chapter of Shantideva, this is how it starts. There's no such thing that is so destructive as anger, because it can destroy a lot of positive seeds that you have created. And the negative seeds we can purify them through purification. Okay, so we have karma, which is the action. But it's not just the action, you need the object, it depends what object, it depends how much you rejoice at the end.